Hello and welcome to our Energy Connect studio at COP28. I'm thrilled to be joined by Antoine Samaha, Managing Director and Partner, Boston Consulting Group. Antoine, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Julian. Very excited to be here and to talk about a topic I'm very passionate about.
Yes, climate finance is a really important topic, and I know at COP28 there was a theme day on day 5 all about it. What, in your view, are the capital requirements for the energy transition?
So huge sums of capital are required to help transition the world into net zero. That everyone is consensus about. The amount in our estimates is between $100 to $150 trillion of total capital in the next 3 decades. However, financing is not flowing fast enough nor far enough. So more needs to be done. Currently, around 16% of the capital required to transition to net zero is being deployed or committed. We've seen some improvement, however. So in 2022, for example, we've seen $75 billion of capital being committed to climate finance funds, which is around a 30% increase over 2021. We've also seen this year, while the numbers are not out yet, some very impactful initiatives being launched. So for example, a couple of days ago here at COP, the president of the UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, announced a $30 billion climate transition fund in partnership with global asset managers such as BlackRock, Brookfield, and TPG. So we are very hopeful. Another point I'd like to highlight, however, on the funding gap is particularly on the adaptation and resilience side. This is where we see the biggest gap and more needs to be done. Out of the $500 billion of annual capital that's required, only 10% is currently flowing into adaptation and resilience.
That's really interesting, yeah. And I think you answered a little bit there about that announcement, but the response from the financial sector is going to be really important to filling the gaps. And you sort of talked about what was announced here earlier.
Yes, indeed. So finance is the most effective lever in our view to help transition into the world of net zero. So governments, investors, banks, and the corporations need to all work together to make that a reality. So to do so, we need to rethink the financial architecture and redesign financial architecture. So governments can help, for example, in multiple ways by closing the cost gap for consumers. In the short to medium term, the transition will be costly, but on the long term, it will pay off. Second, governments need to get granular. So they need to be very clear about the policies, regulations, and the amounts of investments they will deploy on an annual basis so that the private sector can react. Third is about cutting planning and permitting times for infrastructure projects. And then fourth is about redesigning energy markets. It will require a lot of investments in low carbon, so redesigning the energy markets is key and very important for the government to take on. And then final point on the government is about ensuring a just transition.
Yeah.
So sharing the costs and benefits of the transition. On the private sector side, also a lot can be done. So they need to engage proactively with governments and regulators in their investments. They should not lose sight of infrastructure investments, which require a lot of capital, but also will provide a big unlock. And they should integrate carbon into decision-making and valuations to attract more investments in climate-friendly companies. Last point I would like to make about the financial architecture is about some new and innovative products that are coming to market to help the transition. So number one, blended and catalytic finance, where stakeholders, governments, private sectors, philanthropists are working together to de-risk investments for each other. So basically multiple investors with different risk profiles invest together into projects to make them financially and commercially viable. And then another nice initiative I've heard here at COP a couple of days ago is from the World Bank that have announced an initiative they're doing with 15 global banks looking to securitize the climate transition as an asset class. So helping with basically originating and distributing climate investments.
Absolutely, yeah. That was announced earlier by the World Bank. And I think that's sort of shown how COP28 brings all the different institutions and players together and see how they can work it out. And what are some other emerging areas of interest in climate finance you might want to touch on?
Yes, of course. So the two biggest sectors that are attracting climate financing today are those heaviest emitters. So that is energy and transport. So energy is attracting around 44% of climate finance, and transportation is attracting around 29% out of the roughly $1.1 trillion of investments in 2021 and 22. So these are the biggest sectors that are attracting investments. Another area where some is already being done but not enough is around emerging technologies. So if you look at, for example, power in power of hydrogen, storage batteries, a lot is being done right now because they're becoming the production costs are becoming lower and lower. There's increased consumption and also supportive policy. So that is attracting a lot of capital. However, climate is just one part of a larger nature-based ecosystem, right? So on which people, industries, and economies need to work together. So many elements such as water, critical minerals, farmlands, pollinators are being affected by climate, and more needs to be done to address this. So we're seeing new momentum, albeit still shy, around nature-based solutions and adaptation and resilience. So nature-based solution, what more? So nature-based solution on itself can help with 37% of the investments required for mitigation to reach the Paris climate agreement. So this is why it's also important, not only for nature, but also for helping with the climate transition. The final point on nature is it's an ecosystem problem that needs an ecosystem solution. So you need coordinated action and collaboration between government and private sector players to help with addressing the nature challenges.
Absolutely, Antoine. Interesting to hear all that. Just want to thank you for coming down to the Energy Connect studio. I know it's your first day at COP. So.
Yes, it was my first day. Very excited to be here. If I may close, I only have 3 points I would like to make. More needs to be done in climate finance. We need to work together, and we should not forget nature-based solutions and adaptation and resilience.
Great, Antoine. Appreciate.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for watching, and I look forward to bringing you more studio interviews from COP28 in the coming days.